Stress is good for you. Yep, you definitely heard me right. Stress is good for you. Now let that sink in for just a second. What are you talking about, Gov? Stress can't be good for you. No one likes stress. Just hold on a second. Let me just ease you into this video a little bit slower, and I will explain exactly why stress is good for you. When I say the word stress, the first thing you're going to think of is your mental stress. Your brain, your head, projects, things pulling you this way, that way, and you just have too much to do. It's stressing you out and you need a break. But if just for a second, we looked at stress in the physical sense. Take going to the gym for an example. What do you do in the gym? You lift weights. And what do weights do? They cause stress on your muscles. Now, yes, in the moment, breaking down your muscles via stress doesn't sound like the best idea. But do it again every couple of days, and eventually your muscle builds stronger and stronger. Now, believe it or not, mental stress works in exactly the same way. When we find ourselves in stressful situations, yes, at the time they can be bad, but as long as you have a bit of a break and come back to it again later, it will actually improve your mental health. We've all heard of the saying PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's where something stressful causes spiraling negative effects on someone. But a much less common heard phrase is PTG, post-traumatic growth. And research has actually shown that this is far more common in humans. The idea that after a traumatic event, humans grow, they develop, they improve compared to the person that they used to be. Stress is not something that's new to the 21st century. Believe it or not, go back 10, 20, 30,000 years ago, and it was probably quite stressful if you were a caveman being chased by a tiger. And the modern day equivalent is today being chased by your manager for that deadline, being pulled this way and that way, and handing in that final year report. What's different between now and then? A researcher called Tal Ben Shahar did a study that found that the main difference between why stress levels are so high in the 21st century isn't because all of a sudden we have more stressful things going on in our life. It's actually because we are missing the recovery time. That idea that after you go to the gym, your muscles need to recover, and guess what? So does your brain. You need to have times where you recover from those stressful periods. But that's just the issue. In today's modern society, we are on all the time. Whether it's emails, social media, news reports, we constantly have stressful information flying at us from left, right, and center. And that is the difference. Back in the caveman era, Fred Flintstone would go to sleep when it got dark, and that was the end of his day. But with us, when it gets dark, the screens come out, the lights come on, and it's ping after ping after ping, and stress after stress after stress. So now you're probably sitting there thinking, wait a second, you're kind of just telling us that we're more stressed. Who's that gonna help? Now this guy, Tal Ben Shahar, didn't just come up with the reason as to why we are more stressed nowadays compared to actually any area in the previous ever. He then went on to discuss 3 ways of recovery, 3 styles of recovery that we should all incorporate into our lives. But before I do dive into that, it would be amazing if you hit that subscribe button and dropped a like on this video. I know I'm only halfway through, but if you've liked it so far, that would be amazing. And if not, I'm sure the second half will persuade you to press that button. The first style of recovery consists of small breaks. Now these are the breaks that you incorporate into your life every single day. The idea that once every 2 hours, step up, step away from whatever you're doing that's causing stress into your life and spend 10 to 15 minutes doing something else that will actually alleviate that stress. One of the most impactful things that you could do in these short little break periods is exercise. Because when you exercise, you produce 2 specific chemicals. Ketamine, definitely not ketamine, serotonin and dopamine. And those are the 2 exact chemicals that are often prescribed to people on depressants. And what does that show you? It shows that exercise is actually a very natural form of an antidepressant, which is an amazing, powerful reaction that will hopefully cause many benefits to you, as I said, far beyond just physical health. Another way of taking these short breaks throughout the day is the idea of just taking a moment or 2 for a bit of meditation. Now, I don't mean just sitting there humming for 20 minutes like this. that even just taking 30 seconds to take a couple of deep breaths in and out can have massive effects. Tal Ben Shahar talks about a study where he went to a trading firm in the US and asked them if they would take 15-minute breaks every 2 hours. And they went, "Are you joking? We do not have 15 minutes. So he went, "What about 5 minutes? They said, "There is no way we can take 5-minute breaks every 2 hours. It's impossible. The entire floor would crash." So then he asked them, "What about just a 30-second break?" To which they thought about for a second probably, but then agreed to. And a couple of years later, they stuck religiously to every 2 hours having a 30-second break to just close their eyes and take in a couple of deep breaths in and out. And the results were phenomenal. The entire business's performance shot through the roof, and that's all because they brought in these rest periods. Stress was able to be alleviated even just for a short while, and it shows the strength that these micro breaks can have. We now move on to a slightly longer break, medium-sized breaks. Now, what do these consist of? We're looking at things such as taking the weekend to completely disconnect from anything that's stressful in your life, or even something as simple as sleeping at night and getting in good hours every single night. We all know the amazing benefit that sleep has on our life. I'm sure many of us have experienced that the lack of sleep has huge detrimental effects to the following day and even days beyond that. And don't worry even if you can't sleep, because just lying in bed, reading a book has these same positive effects for the medium-sized break. I mean, when you really dive into it, even God took a break once a week. If he can do it, so can you. And that brings us to the final type of recovery, and that is the big recovery. Your 1 week, 2 week holidays where you can lie on the beach in Dubai like most of the world have been doing this winter. And these also have a massively positive effect in terms of a recovery period from stress to strengthen your mental well-being. Take Formula 1 for an example. If you take one of those cars and it's on the track and it's constantly driving and driving and driving around the track, and it chooses to never ever pull in for a pit stop and take that break, take that recovery time, what happens? Yep, it might take the lead in the short run, but after a couple more laps, it will burst its tires, run out of petrol, and this is exactly what happens in the human world as well. It's called burnout, and it's this idea that if you try to keep going and going because you think you're in this race, you will eventually massively crash, and it will have even worse effects had you not just taken those breaks at periodic times. J.K. Rowling is a prime example of this. She has a famous quote that says, "I can do a year's worth of work in 9 months, but not 12. And this just signifies to you, no, don't take a 3-month holiday, because I'm sure none of us have that much allowance in our holidays. But what it does show is that you can be way more productive in shorter amounts of time if you take that break every so often. So don't try and keep going and going and going, because burnout will occur. Even if that just means taking a week out to do absolutely nothing at home and just relax, watch Netflix, lie in bed, be as unproductive as possible. If that's what's going to bring down your stress levels, then that's the thing for you. All right, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this explanation about different types of stress has been useful for yourself, and you definitely understand the value that these recoveries, whether they're small, medium, or large, can have on your life. And if you do want to learn more, then feel free to look into the researcher Tal Ben Shahar. I will leave a link to some of his videos in the description, because they've definitely been a massive influence on me, hearing him speak a couple of times. He actually came and spoke at my job the other week, and that's where the inspiration for this video came from. If you're at this stage and you didn't hit like the first time round, it would be amazing if you hit it this time round. I would massively appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if this video has left you feeling way more relaxed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.